Good afternoon and welcome to a special ISSA webinar. My name is Erin Lash. I am the ARCSI Program Manager with ISSA, and I am thrilled to be your moderator today. Last year, at ISSA, we launched an employee benefits program, and we feature a wealth of programs that you as a business owner can take advantage of for not only yourself, but also for your employees. Last week on our webinar, we had TJ Bullock, and he talked with us about the healthcare portion of the new program. Today, we are thrilled to have Mark Streffner and Christian Romano, and they're going to talk about the 401k program, about what it can do for you and how you can use that at your business to not only keep your high quality employees, but also to attract new ones. So I will turn it over now to Mark and Christian.
Welcome everyone, all our members. We appreciate you being on this webinar. We're very excited to present this plan to everyone. Just to reintroduce myself, Mark Streffner. I am one of the benefits team here at ISSA. And we have been tasked, and what we've been doing over the last year or so is trying to put together a suite of benefits that will really enhance your businesses, to be able to help your employees, help you retain talent, and because we know that what you do every day is running your business. And so not everybody wants to become a health insurance expert or a 401k plan expert, but yet people know the importance and the value of these types of plans, especially in an environment where you're trying to find, keep, retain these employees. And it's interesting when you think about the 401k plan. We hear that all the time. Do you have a 401k plan? My company has a 401k plan. Next to health insurance, it is the most sought after employee benefit. That means when people are evaluating where they want to go to work, I'm sure pay is the first thing they're looking at. But after that, when it comes to benefits, it's health insurance, then the 401k plan. And it's hard to believe that it was back in 1981 that the Internal Revenue Service proposed regulations for 401k plans that allowed these plans to come into play. It's almost 4 decades later, and it has gone from a small, little-known benefit to this amazingly huge benefit. But with that benefit comes a few other things. So we're going to talk about that. We have a bit of an overview of what we're going to discuss today. That overview includes, and Christian, if you're popping the slides there, if you could do that for me, the overview. We're going to have an overview. We're going to talk about our solution. We're actually going to demo the platform that was put together. We're going to talk about the pricing and then field some other specific things as we go along. So let's get into the overview of why we're even dealing with 401k plans and why we're talking about it as an association benefit. And one of the reasons is because one of the barriers to establishing a 401k plan has often been the expense. They're not particularly cheap to set up typically. Why is that? I mean, if you're just investing money, why is that so hard and why is that so expensive? Well, because unlike your traditional IRA or retirement account that you open up online or even a personal investment program, there's administration that's involved in making sure a 401k plan is designed properly. The federal government wants things to be handled a certain way. There's discrimination policies, and when we use the word discrimination in our world, it's not the same definition as you're hearing on the news these days. It's talking about different classes of employees and levels. There's a balance that needs to be put in place. Anytime those things are there, it requires oversight, it requires systems to be in place, and someone has to get paid for doing that, and that's where the expense comes in. And it's often been a barrier to entry because if you're a 4 or 5, 10 person company, are you going to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year to maintain a 401k plan? Probably not. And then once you do get these plans put in place, a lot of times the way the plans are managed is really outdated. I mean, there's a lot of paper still involved. A lot of the platforms are legacy platforms. They've been around for a long time. And so it becomes this big monolithic, inflexible system that's in place that becomes very difficult to live with. That's been a turnoff for a lot of these 401k plans going forward. So we see that the retirement planning portion of things can be a little bit broken. And then we have these complications that come up in our next slide here. We have, there's limitations on how some of these plans can be designed. One that jumps out a lot is the administrative burden. Do you really want to spend a lot of time dealing with this? Some of our people who are connected here, maybe they don't have an HR person or a department. Maybe you're the CEO and the HR person and everything else in the company, and you don't have necessarily the time to administer a plan. If you do have an HR department or an HR person, how much of that person's time do you want dedicated to managing a plan? Probably, it's not the best use of time, on a day-to-day basis. And then the big one is a fiduciary liability that's in place. Now, you've probably heard that term a lot lately, fiduciary. What's a fiduciary? Well, a very simple definition is it's someone who has a responsibility towards somebody else. A fiduciary has to be doing what's in the best interest of the person they're representing. So you as a business owner, if you implement a financial program like a 401k plan, there's a fiduciary standard that falls on you that automatically puts you in a position of possible exposure if something doesn't go right, if the employees don't have the proper investment choices available to them. There's a vast number of things that can backfire. And again, this complicates the whole concept of the 401k plan. So you know what it does? It creates frustration. And that frustration, it comes from the employer side and the employee side. The employers are frustrated because they're dealing with more paper than they wanted to deal with. They have to send out notices all the time, do all the things they need to do to be compliant with the feds. And then on top of that, it's the whole spreadsheet world of, okay, now the money that this employee wants to put away for their retirement, I have to map that to their paycheck, and it can be a manual process. That's been a burden for a lot of employers. And for employees, they've even had a bit of a burden. Even though a lot of these programs claim to have online enrollment, as we've been evaluating the different programs, we've come to find that they're not that easy, even though they're online. Sometimes they're as complicated as paperwork is, just it's online, the portals aren't that easy to navigate. And then that gets translated into very little utilization. There's not a lot of savings rates that are getting up there in some of these plans. So what was the solution that we came up with? And the solution is the ISSA and Vestwell partnership. When we were tasked to look into what carriers, what providers, what administrators we could partner with to take the vast membership of ISSA as an association and ARCSI and bring it to a partner and say, what can you do for us? Can you create a solution that would be tailored to our membership, that will make it easy for them to implement, easy for them to utilize, and have pricing that they couldn't get off the street? And that is what we came up with here. This platform makes it easier for companies to offer this benefit to their employees as well as administer it. So let's talk a little bit about the solution. I'm going to turn it over to Christian. And now Christian Romano, he is our dedicated person with Vestwell who basically knows all the ins and outs, and he's dedicated 100% of the entire ISSA ARCSI relationship. Christian handles that for us. And so Christian, if I could turn it over to you, talk a little bit about what we've had imagined here for the ISSA membership.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the introduction. Folks, thanks everyone for joining today. To echo Mark's point, is what we've done together is we built a solution that is going to make it easier and simpler for ISSA members to offer this really great benefit to their employees. When we think about it, really there's a couple different elements to it. We wanted to provide something that is very, very modern. We know that whether it be the Apple products today or social media, there's a lot of items that folks use on a day-to-day basis. And we want the 401k to really feel like an extension of that. We want it to be very easy for folks to use. We also want it to be transparent. Historically, the financial industry in general hasn't been as transparent as we all would like. And so through this new system, through this new platform, we're able to deliver on an element of transparency. And then finally, we also want to offer customization. So, when you bring technology to the table, it streamlines things, it automates things, but we also recognize that while ISSA members are all in a similar industry, your companies are different, the sizes are different. the benefits that you're offering to your employees are different. And so the solution is able to combine these three different elements into a very easy to use, easy to function offering. So let's talk about what it means to be modern. So imagine you're walking in, and this is something that we'll go through in more detail during the demo later on, but imagine you're walking in as a participant. You want to see how much you've saved. You want to see how you're currently investing. You want to see how much you're currently saving per paycheck. All this information should be very easy to see as a participant when they log in. Similarly, if you're the company offering the plan, if you want to look up information on your plan, whether it be, let's say, a document for your plan or something related to previous payroll, it needs to be very functional. You need to be able to access that information very easily. One of the things that Mark and I speak about a lot is related to the cost of a 401k plan. There's the hard dollar costs, which are the fees you're paying. But then there's a soft dollar cost, which are, from a resource perspective, what kind of internal company resources are we allocating to operate the 401k plan? And by making it modern, by making it easy to follow, by making it easy to use as a sponsor and also a participant, it really makes for a nice, efficient offering. And so the modern experience means that we've targeted different friction points as it relates to the onboarding process, as it relates to payroll processing. These are elements that we've applied technology to, and we're trying to remove the work that comes with offering a 401k plan for members of the ISSA. Now, moving over to the transparency element, we think it's very important that if you are, offering a 401k plan to your employees, you should be very clear on what you're paying. And so we constructed our notices to be very clear as to who's paying what. The pricing is specific to ISSA and is very competitive, and it's just simple and clear to follow. This is something that shouldn't be overly complicated. Other folks have complicated it, and for us, we think, let's just make this transparent. Let's make this easy to use. Let's provide this really high quality benefit without some of the jumbled words that are associated with other different offerings. And then finally, on the customization front. So again, we know that we're all interested in a 401k, but depending on the size of your company and what you're trying to accomplish, things may change. So whether it be things related to the plan design, one of the nice features of the platform is every sponsor or company looking to set up a 401k plan is going to have a consultation process where they speak with us and we can work with them to understand what type of design makes the most sense. You think about things like a company match. Does a company make a certain match in this case, or maybe they don't? Is there a profit sharing that should be involved? There's different elements and different levers that we can pull to make sure that the design is applied to the ISSA group and specifically to the individual companies participating. We also think about the investment side of things. So if you're a participant, you shouldn't have two or three options to choose from. You should have a couple. You should be able to invest in a way that you're comfortable with. And together with Mark and his team, the offering we have is something that caters to the full spectrum of participants who may be in a plan, folks who understand finance and understand investing very well, and then also folks who maybe don't have a great handle on that. That's something that Mark will go into in more detail later on. And then finally, there are different payroll companies we work with. And so depending on who you are, we'll be able to figure out a way to make sure that from a payroll perspective and when it comes to uploading different information, that we're able to do so in a way that's easy for you folks and easy on your staff, as importantly. And so here's a nice slide that just kind of depicts what makes us different at our core. And so if we think on this top line here, other solution, it's very segmented into the different phases of a plan. And so depending on which phase you're in, your experience is going to change. When we think about the onboarding process, if you're a sponsor and you're thinking about putting a 401k plan in place, you're wary of, okay, how much time and resources am I going to have to allocate to putting this in place? If you're dealing with a lot of paper forms, it's going to add to the time. Payroll processing, is it going to be easy for me to get the data I need from my payroll provider into my 401k provider, or is it going to be more complicated? From an enrollment perspective, are my participants going to be able to easily enroll? Are they going to be able to easily access this really great benefit that I'm paying for and that they're paying for? Or is it going to be difficult? Are there going to be roadblocks that they're going to bump into? And then finally, when it comes to the year-end process, every plan has a year-end process. It's part of this highly regulated space, which is 401k world. Is that going to be something that's going to be very manually intensive for the company offering the plan? Or can we streamline it through technology? And what you can see here through this bottom line is the ISSA offering. By making all this digital, by bringing it all together and by offering it in a single spot for you folks to reach out to and interact with instead of having to deal with multiple parties, how is that going to improve the experience? And from our and based on the years that we spend in this space, it improves the experience drastically. And so Mark mentioned the fiduciary element earlier. And so what's nice about the offering is we are incorporating not only just easy to use, a modern interface and a tech forward platform to use, we're also incorporating fiduciary elements to it as well. And so Mark, I'll turn it over to you to talk about the investment side of things and go into detail there.
Sounds good. Yeah, so we were mentioning a little earlier about the investment fiduciary, and this is an area that I'm very familiar with because as a plan sponsor, you do have a responsibility to make sure that there is a competitive fund lineup that the participants can access. So this might be one of the questions you're having right now. Well, what companies can we use? Can we use Fidelity funds? Can we use American funds? Can we use ETFs? Can we use these different things? And the beauty is we have an open architecture platform that we are working with Vestwell on, which means that we can build, or you can design with Vestwell a strategy for your an investment lineup for your employees that will match the fiduciary standard that's out there. And what a simple translation is basically that you have to have a reasonable lineup of investments for people in all the different areas of their lifespan and working. You can't just be all aggressive things, all technology driven. Maybe you have certain favorite investments that you have, but there has to be a balance. Something has to be available for all people to participate in. So there's some due diligence that's involved, and recommendations will be made. There are lineups, there are pre-made menus of different investment programs that fulfill this standard. But the important part is this fiduciary oversight now becomes the responsibility, instead of you as a plan sponsor, even though it ultimately is you, Vestwell, and it has the ability to take on that responsibility and help take that off of your shoulders. But there's not just the investment side of it. There's also the administrative fiduciary side, which is very important as well. And Christian, you can talk to that.
Yeah. And so folks, to Mark's point, sponsors are going to be fiduciaries. That's just the way the law is written. But when you put together an offering, there are ways that we can insulate you from your fiduciary responsibility. And so on the administrative side, one of the key elements to a offering a 401k plan is filing a Form 5500. For those not familiar with this term in this document, this is the document that gets submitted to the government at year-end that basically summarizes what happened over the course of a year. And so we will go as far as signing and filing the Form 5500 on behalf of your plan. So it's our name on the dotted line there. Over the course of the year, we're going to approve things like loans and distributions. As far as the year-end process generally, we're going to have oversight of that. We're going to make sure notices get sent out, things of that nature. And then ultimately, again, we're the ones who actually sign on behalf of your plan saying, yes, this is what happened over the course of a year. And I think that speaks to the level of fiduciary responsibility that this offering is taking on your company's behalf. And so again, we're identifying ways that not only can we improve the experience from a usability perspective, but from the fiduciary side of things, what can we do to insulate you guys from your fiduciary responsibility? We know we can't remove it completely from your shoulders, but there are ways that we can insulate it, and that's been a core part of the offering that Mark has developed.
So now let's talk a little bit about these partnerships that we have with the different payroll processing systems. Chances are, you see a lot of names on this page here. Maybe you use ADP, maybe you use QuickBooks, Paylocity, Paychex. Maybe there's a payroll provider you don't see here. Maybe you have your own custom solution. Well, one of the things that we like about the Vestwell platform for ISSA is that they have the ability on many, many levels to create integrations to work with the biggest payroll providers out there. Chances are you might be using one of these. If not, we could always discuss whether or not we can make a connection there and have it work well with your payroll provider. So this is really what makes everything easier, because then it happens as you run your paychecks, everything gets deposited in an automated fashion, which in the past has always been the big administrative burden from a day-to-day standpoint, is just making sure everything gets to where it needs to go. But by integrating with these companies, it all gets pretty much taken care of in an automatic way. So what we're going to do now, I think Christian is going to, we've got a company dashboard and we have a participant dashboard. And I think on a very high level, we're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but a little bit of time just to give you an idea of what it looks like from the administrative side as a plan sponsor, and then also what the participant will experience when they log in and see how this 401k plan works. So Christian, if you could run with that.
Absolutely. So we can start with the sponsor experience. And again, sponsor, folks, is just a technical term in the 401k world for the actual company offering and sponsoring the 401k plan. So when we log in as a sponsor here, we're presenting information in a very clear manner. So once this screen loads up, what you're going to see is if you're a company logging in, you have a lot of work going on, you have things that need to get done, but you want to just quickly check in and see how your 401k is doing. You log in and you see, okay, I can see I have this much in my balance. I can see information on recent payroll submissions here in the top right-hand corner. I can see information on my eligible participants. I can see other participation statistics here as well. And you log in, just get a quick sense of where things stand, and then you can go about your day. Again, we're trying to just present information in a very clear, easily digestible manner for you folks. Now, with that said, we also recognize that this is not the end all for sponsors, depending on what they're looking to do. So there are plenty of other different elements to this portal, to this modern interface that you guys can access. So let's click on this employees tab here. So as a company who's offering the 401k plan, you can log in and say, okay, I want to see a list of all my employees here. If I wanted to search by someone, I could. Let's say a participant comes to you with a quick question, you can always look up their account there. If you wanted to filter and see, okay, I'm interested to see everyone at the company who's currently eligible for the 401k plan, you can toggle this very easily here. And you'll notice that each of these participants here on the left are hyperlinks. So you could click into any one of those and just get more information on that individual's account. Again, we want to present information at a high level on the overview page, but then give you the ability to gather whatever other additional data that you need. On the contribution side of things, as Mark mentioned, we have a lot of payroll integrations today, which can remove you from the payroll process to a degree, depending on the provider. We also know that maybe you do payroll in-house, or maybe you use some local provider that we haven't yet integrated with, and you'll be uploading payroll manually. That's all done through this page. Again, all hyperlinks here, so it's very easy to follow as to what actually needs to happen. Typically, with every company that agrees to work with Vestwell, we set up what we call a payroll walkthrough call with that sponsor. We know that technology is great, but I'm younger, I'm 29 years old, and even when I see new technology and have it put in front of me, I still got to figure it out here. And so what we found is that it's helpful if we can offer some service to this sponsor to show them, here's how your payroll should be processed. We can hop on the phone with you or someone on your team, whoever is going to be processing payroll, and just walk them through how to actually upload payroll. And in doing so, put your mind at ease, that's when actual monies and movement, and we think it's a nice element of this, where we have this great technology, but we still know that folks are going to be a little wary of okay, I'm a little nervous by doing this for the first time. Let's add some service in there to make sure that it goes very smoothly. Continuing on, we have this My Plan tab. We recognize that over the course of a year or over the life of your 401k plan, you may want to look up information, whether it be different documents for your 401k plan, different plan notices. One of the unique features that we offer as part of the ISSA solution is we file notices and distribute notices on your behalf. So typically the process is a 401k provider sends out a notice to sponsors, and the sponsors then have to send that notice out to the different participants, and it's on them to get that notice out. For us, we actually post this notice to your sponsor portal. You can see their notices here, but we also post them to the participant portal, which will hop in here in a minute. And so again, it's one more thing that you would have to do if you weren't using this digital tech forward solution that we have built technology and put it in place to reduce the amount of work that goes into offering the 401k plan, which we think is especially relevant for plans in the smaller end of the market, plans with under $25 million or so. And I would say we specialize in that small plan space. We've tailored the solution specifically to address the needs of our small businesses. And so it's not like we are this company dealing with billion-dollar plans. We're dedicated to the small plan market. And so we've allocated resources to make sure that from an experience perspective, your small companies are attended to and have their needs accounted for. And so transitioning here to the participant experience, you'll notice that it's a very similar presentation of information. In this case, we have Marty here. Marty logs in, he says, okay, how much do I have in my account? Very obviously presented here. How's that broken down by personal and employer contributions? Presented very clearly here. How much am I currently contributing per paycheck? I can see that I'm contributing 7%. You'll notice we have it listed as a Roth contribution. One of the nice functionality features that we have is you can contribute as pre-tax or Roth, either way. And then how am I investing? I'm currently investing via a custom lineup, meaning that I have my assets allocated across a couple different individual funds. But I'll click into this here because this will show you the interface and how it all works and the different ways that we give participants the ability to invest in it. As we all know, investing is obviously a core element of this 401k offering and 401k offerings generally. But here we can see that in this case, Marty is allocated. He's got about 10% in this small cap fund, about 40% in a large cap fund. And if Marty wanted to make a change, he would simply hit this change strategy button. And we know that in some cases, folks want to pick at the individual fund level. They want to invest based on different individual funds. But in other cases, folks don't necessarily understand kind of the intricacies of individual funds. They would rather get some help in their investment. So what Mark has put together here is a nice lineup that incorporates the ability to pick at the individual fund level, which you can see here on the right. You would just simply put in the percent that you'd like allocated to these various funds. But there's also other elements to it. So if you hit this choose for me option, this is where a participant can go in and say, you know what, I don't really know how to invest, but I know when I want to retire. So can I use a target date approach? And the answer is yes. So the participant can simply select when they want to retire here, and they'll be bucketed into the appropriate target date fund. And then we have a help me choose option. This includes risk-based models. So let's say that you're a participant who doesn't want to pick at the individual fund level, but wants to be a little bit more strategic than just choosing when they want to retire. We have risk-based models where a participant can simply select the amount of risk they want to take in their account, whether it be conservative, aggressive, whatever it is, and be bucketed into a model that incorporates their risk tolerance. And so very easy to do. They would just take this little toggle, drag it to the risk tolerance of their choosing and their liking, and then you can see they've been bucketed into this aggressive strategy. There's a fact sheet here and information on the underlying investments. And so it's a very nice way that you can tailor to the full spectrum of participants at your company, ensuring that each individual participant, whether they're very experienced in investing or not experienced at all, they'll have an option to leverage in the 401k plan. Move on to the portfolio tab here. This is where the participant can gather some more details on their account, whether it be performance. You can see that with coronavirus, Marty's account has taken a little bit of a hit here, but performance, target allocation, information on their current holdings. And then I mentioned earlier about the notices. So if you're a participant and you wanted to access your notices or access your plan statements, by hitting this My Plan tab, this is all available to you right here. So again, very easy to follow, easy to use portal, and able to navigate it within a few clicks. And it's been really core to what we're doing because a 401k benefit is so crucial to the overall benefit offering of a company. But if you don't have a platform and a solution in place that allows people to really take advantage of that offering, it kind of goes by the wayside. And so to attract and retain talent, we really think that the way we structured things is going to be very beneficial for the ISSA members. And so hopping back into the PowerPoint here, we can talk about pricing. And so Mark, I don't know if there's anything you want to add before I hop in here, but this is the next step here.
Oh, please feel free.
Awesome. And so what we have here, folks, is we have a couple different offerings for the ISSA members, all competitively priced and negotiated for you guys. And so the way we thought about things is there are some folks who are interested in a standard plan. Maybe they don't have a lot of employees just yet, and they want to keep their costs low, they want to keep their fees really low, and are comfortable with a design that is standardized, the kind of a standard eligibility structure to standard company match structure. And the pricing here is very competitive, where the company will pay $100 a month, and then participants with the balance will pay $6 a month. So very, very competitively priced here. We've removed the setup fee just to reduce the cost to ISSA members. So again, very competitively priced there. And this workplace option allows for folks who are interested in a standard design, who are maybe just starting out with a 401k. And then we move to this plus option. This is for folks who say, I'm looking for more flexibility. I'm conscious of the fees for my plan, but I also want to be able to customize my offering for my specific company. In certain cases, a lot of the cost of a 401k plan is tied up in a company match, as an example, and so maybe you want to be more specific as to how the match is structured. Again, part of the onboarding process for plans via the ISSA solution is a consultative onboarding process to make sure that it's designed in a way that you guys are comfortable with. But this plus offering, again, is priced competitively. There is no setup fee here. It's a little bit more expensive than workplace, and you're paying for more flexibility for your plan. And then finally, we have this custom option for larger plans. You may want an a la carte offering. There's different things that we can do there, and from a pricing perspective, it'll be based off of what you're looking for. But the bottom line is we want to make sure that we have an offering here that is very competitive and is also tailored to the specific needs of the different ISSA members and sponsors, making sure that this offering can really be used and folks can really benefit from it. And then in this same light, Mark, I'll turn it over to you as it relates to the Secure Act here.
Sure. So this is something that's really an attractive thing that's happening right now. Recently, the Secure Act was passed, and there's a little bit of history over here too, because just a few things to keep in mind. For many years, people have relied in the past on pensions and things like that for retirement. And the reason why we don't have pensions around anymore is because they became quite a financial burden to companies, very expensive. If you're having a good year or a bad year, you still have this burden of a pension that you had to maintain for your employees. What we have seen as history has gone by here is that the pension concept is really going away. Very few people have pensions. Maybe some of you out there had a pension at one point, or maybe your parents did. But really, what are we seeing in the marketplace right now, or what are we seeing in the retirement world? There is a huge amount of assets in retirement plans, and there's almost $9 trillion in 401k plans right now. $9 trillion. By the way, interesting point, 1/3 of that, or $3 trillion, is actually people who are under 40. So people are understanding that they need to save for their own retirement. And we're getting the cues, right? The government is making it attractive for people, for organizations to set up 401k plans. Back when Social Security started, it was 47-1 people contributing versus people taking out. Today, it's 2-1 people contributing versus people taking out. And with this baby boomer generation going through the Social Security system, what you're finding out is that this is not a political statement in any way, it's really just a math statement. There's people pulling out and living longer than was expected when the system was put into place. So there's going to need to be changes made. And we're seeing those signals come through. We're seeing them in legislation like the Secure Act, which they're incentivizing business owners to set up a 401k plan. They will give you tax credits of up to 50% of plan expenses to a certain point. And it's an interesting thing, because basically now, if you look at that expense, that $100 a month, a good chunk of that could be covered by the federal government as an incentive. And there's a difference between a deduction and a credit. This isn't a tax deduction. This is a tax credit, which means it's a dollar for dollar reduction in your taxes to set this up. We also have other signals that we're seeing, right? Every year, the thresholds for how much you could put away are getting higher and higher and higher. For instance, when I started dealing with 401k plans 25 years ago, the thresholds where you could put away $11,000 of your income up to 15% of your income, whichever you hit first. Now it's almost $20,000, and if you're over 50, it's another $5,000 on top of that. What is the signal we're getting? The government is saying, look, if you're counting on Social Security, if you're counting on pensions, they might not be there. So your employees are looking to you to help them put away for retirement. And that's why this has become such a huge benefit. And it really builds a glue between the participant and their employers when these types of benefits are in place. So from a tax credit perspective, this is a phenomenal time to set up a 401k plan. And if you already have a 401k plan and you're looking at what the ISSA offering is, it might be a good time to even transition the plan as well, because you get this more attractive pricing. I don't know, Christian, if you have anything else to add about this.
No, I mean, I would completely agree that as we think about what the government is doing, this is an especially enticing time for folks to put a 401k plan in place if they haven't already. And I would say the Secure Act is something that we're seeing, across the country. Folks are moving toward setting up 401k plans, and I would add that there are also state retirement plans that we're seeing in things like California, Illinois, Oregon, and ultimately what we see happening is the government is going to say folks are going to have some sort of retirement plan in place, and the solution that we've built has really been targeted to the ISSA to make sure that it's functional and easy to use, and that it's just a high quality solution for everybody.
Yeah, and if I could add to that too, just a little personal note. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 25 years, but before that, I worked for Microsoft Corporation. And when I worked for Microsoft, I was part of their 401k plan, and they had 8 Fidelity funds and Microsoft stock. Those were our options, and everything was paperwork driven, and everything was. We had the internet back then, right? I mean, we were able to log on and look at our balances and things like that. But when I look at the offering that we have available today, this is so much more sophisticated, so much better, so much cheaper. To think that a company with, not thousands of employees, but maybe 10 or 20 or whatever, can actually get their hands on technology that makes their life easier, that provides a benefit for their employees, and that is so easy to use that you could, take your phone and take a look at your balances every day, see the notices. It's just, we have come light years from where what we have available now to small business owners is better than what the Fortune 500 companies had just a few years ago. And it's really been a great partnership. We're very happy that we've been able to partner with Vestwell and bring them onto this platform and build this solution for the ISSA membership, this exclusive solution. And we're going to continually monitor it and improve it and make it better. But that's about all we have as far as the presentation goes. I think, Christian, that's about all you have to share, right?
Yep. So we can hop into the question and answer now.
Yeah. So Aaron, if you want to field some questions, we can do that. Do we have the Q&A?
I don't know if there's any questions.
Sorry, there are questions. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I was hit mute in 2 different places. Okay. I think you may have answered some of these going throughout the webinar, but I'm going to read them just in case, in case I misunderstood. Okay, so do we have to do payroll with you in order to use your 401k plan? And I think you covered that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And want to be clear, we are not a payroll provider. We are the 401k provider. And so you can use whatever payroll provider that you've used in the past, whichever one you'd like to use. And so we work with folks who use a whole range of different payroll providers. So there's nothing mandatory about who you use for payroll whatsoever. So yes.
Okay. Any requirement on participation rate from employees?
So depending on the plan, the IRS and DOL do mandate certain requirements there. I don't have the specifics. I don't know, Mark, if you do either, but depending on the plan, that may be the case.
Yeah, it's subject to plan design. So there are certain designs, and then we could talk to people individually when they submit a question. For instance, we have the on the screen right now. You see the benefits microsite mdp.issa.com. You also see the email address mdp@issa.com. When you share with us how many employees you have and what you're trying to get accomplished, and we can tell you the specific options that are available and what the minimum mandates are from the federal government. But just know that that's not something specific to the ISSA plan. That is just these are rules that we have to follow with 401k plans regardless.
Before what I'm going to have Kevin do right now is, Kevin, can you put that link in the chat? Because one of the questions is, how do we start the process with you? So there is a link that Kevin's going to put in the chat. And we also have a member benefit employee hotline. And I just had that number. Do you know that number off the top of your head, Mark?
You know what? I can get it for you. Give me 1 second. Now, can I put that in the chat as well? Is that something
Absolutely.
I can do?
Put that in the chat, because with the member benefit hotline and the link, those are the two places that you can go right now for information if you are looking to sign up or have more questions that we may not answer today. And that does not mean I'm going to stop. We do have several more questions, and I'm going to keep right on going through. What is the minimum group size to have an ISSA 401k? And the next question kind of ties into that, is if I have only 5 to 10 employees, does it make financial sense to set up one of these programs?
Go ahead, Christian. I'll let you take that.
Yeah, so I would say I'll take the second question first. So it really depends on what your goals are as a company. So one of the benefits of a 401k plan is that it allows the ownership to put away more money than other retirement vehicles do. As an example, as an owner, you can put away of your own money $19,500 a year, and then you can receive a company match on top of that if you'd like. And there's also a profit sharing element to it, which can get you up to $57,500 a year in terms of deposits into the 401k account. And so depending on what you're trying to accomplish from a savings perspective, a 401k plan oftentimes makes more sense. And we have companies who have 2 employees that set up a 401k plan, even companies that set up a 401k plan for their a single employee. So I would say the answer is yes, it's an option, and depending on what you're looking to accomplish, it's a great option. So to Mark's point, through the benefits site, we can have a conversation with you to understand what your goals are and make sure that the 401k makes sense.
Yeah, and that is a great answer too, because, and we have done this. We've had a few people who called up inquiring about the 401k plan, and after just a real quick conversation, we found out 401k wasn't really a good match for them. That there was a different style of retirement plan that was, just more well suited for them. So just so you know, we're not here marketing a 401k plan to our membership. We want to match you up with the benefit that makes the most sense. If it's a fit, if it helps you accomplish what you need to get accomplished, this is the plan. If it's not, we're going to tell you.
Okay, can you, the question is, can you offer the program only to managers?
So as far as how we design plans, the answer is typically no. And so the word discrimination that Mark used earlier is a 401k plan needs to be something, and there's different ways that you can structure things, but typically it needs to be available to the whole company. There are ways you can structure eligibility. And so let's say that you have a team of managers and you have another team of hourly workers who don't work, let's say 1,000 hours over the course of a year. You could set your eligibility up so that way, in a way that you're excluding the hourly workers and making sure that managers are able to participate. And so again, when we think about plan design, there are different levels or levers rather that we can pull to design a plan that makes the most sense for your company. Understand that companies have different needs. And so as part of the onboarding process, plan consultation and figuring out what your goals are for the plan is something that we'll be sure to address and have a conversation about.
Yeah, and what I would just add to that too is that in the past, a lot of times you can overlay different plans that are more for management versus something for the rank and file. So again, that's in the design. But the idea is that you have to have a fair offering for everybody.
Okay, is employer matching mandatory?
No, it's a great question, and employer matching is not mandatory. There are advantages and disadvantages to it, but it's not like you have to match employee contributions, which you do with some other retirement plan structures. With a 401k, you do not have to offer a match.
Okay, is the software available in Spanish?
It's a great question. And so today, your browser may be able to translate the portals to Spanish. We have some notices that we can offer in Spanish, and Spanish materials are something that we're working on adding. At this time, it's not something that is built into the system just yet. But I would say if there are folks who have Spanish-speaking employees, there are different resources that we can leverage to make sure that you're catering to your employee base and giving them the ability to access the benefit.
Okay. Where can I see a list of available products that can be combined together to form a balanced portfolio?
It's a great question. And so we can definitely speak with sponsors about the different investment offerings that are included in the lineup that Mark and his team have put together. It covers a whole bunch of different asset classes, and the investments are competitively priced. And I would say that's something that we can definitely share with anyone interested in learning that information. Again, we stress transparency. We want to make sure that you're clear on the different investments that'll be available to you, what the costs are of those different items, and again, would be more than happy to have conversations with folks and Mark to make sure that you guys are clear on what the investment offerings are.
Okay, and again, the phone number for our member benefit hotline is in the chat box, which is in your GoToWebinar dashboard, as is the link to their microsite. Couple more questions. Says, when we looked into a 401k plan years ago, we were told we were ineligible due to being top heavy. Is that an issue with this plan?
So top heavy is a type of testing failure, so to speak. So again, at the end of every year, plans are tested based on government regulations, and just because you are a top heavy plan does not mean that you can't have a 401k plan in place. As an example, if you were to fail the top heavy test, there would be either contributions you'd have to make to your employees, or there are distributions that the owners may have to make to pass that testing. And so just because you're top heavy doesn't preclude you or exclude you from offering a 401k plan. The other item I would add to that is through this offering, there's different ways that we can structure plan design. And so there's actually a matching structure that exempts you from top heavy tests. And so again, the ISSA offering is designed so that way we can be customizable, be flexible for the ISSA members and sponsors to address their individual concerns and the concerns of their company from a design perspective to ensure that ultimately whatever is put in place makes sense to them, that they understand it. But I would say as importantly that it meshes well with their company demographic and things of that nature. So it's a great question. And the answer is no, you are not precluded from a 401k via ISSA because you're top heavy. And there's ways that we can get you out of that top heavy problem as well through plan design.
And if I could just jump in there too, this is one of the reasons why we partnered with Vestwell, because if you want to get a low cost offering, then everything's cookie cutter. And when it's cookie cutter, then it excludes a lot of people from being able to participate. There isn't really a company structure that can't get a 401k plan put into place, but there just needs to be a couple of boxes checked and a couple of things set up so that it can be compliant. And it takes knowledge, it takes experience, and it takes people who understand how these plans are specifically designed properly to get those things to fit. And with the Vestwell platform, we have the ability to do that. We've already positioned companies who thought they couldn't get a 401k plan in place. We got it set up for them, and they're very happy with it, and it's a lot cheaper than the other offerings they were looking at and world-class fund offerings. So we have that availability, and that's what's exciting about this. I guess that's the beauty of the digital platform, is it's easy enough to tweak to make it fit your particular needs.
What age limits are on older employees?
So as far as age limits go, the real age limits of a 401k are actually on younger employees, and so typically they're in place for someone who's 18 or 21 years of age. That's something that the company can set up. As far as age limits on older employees, there really aren't any. I would say that there are certain things that need to happen, things like required minimum distributions and things of that nature. But Mark, if you want to add anything to that based on your
Yeah,
experience.
if you're working, you can contribute. That's really the point. If
Yep.
you're 85 years old and still employed, you can still contribute.
Okay, next question. Is the ISSA plan available to employers with less than 100 employees? And I think you've answered that, but just to make sure we get the information out there.
Yes, for sure. It is definitely.
Okay. If you match, it reduces the participation requirements, correct?
Yeah, so I
Go
would
ahead, Chris.
say, again, when it relates to plan design, matching eligibility requirements, it's going to be specific as to the design in place. And so if you are matching employee contributions, it does more to help with things like the top heavy tests. But I would say these specific design questions are things that we can definitely have a conversation with and make sure that we're answering them completely in the context of what the sponsor is looking for.
Yeah, and there's a whole other conversation to be had on that. We didn't a lot of time for that, but we talk about safe harbor programs and things like that. That's probably where that question is coming from. There are certain provisions in the code that say if you set up a match a certain way, it exempts you from all the testing, basically, or you're automatically, compliant based on certain parameters. So what we have found is that there's certain versions of the safe harbor provision that is actually very attractive to employers, and it doesn't create a big fiduciary or not, but a financial burden on the employer. And so we've seen a lot of safe harbor plans go into place that kind of eliminate the testing requirements altogether.
Okay, I was going to say last question, but I just got another one snuck in here. So let's see. Is the monthly fee based on participating employees or eligible employees?
That's a fantastic question. So we bill based on participants who actually have a balance in the plan. And so to this person's point, I think it's again, a great question because there are people who bill differently. But for us, let's say that, the three of us are in a plan, and Mark is eligible for the plan but hasn't started saving yet, and hasn't started contributing to the plan. We're not going to bill on Mark's account. So Mark isn't going to be subject to $6 a month or $8 a month. And so we only will bill on someone if there are actual assets in the account. And this is not the case with all providers. Some folks charge just for running the eligibility calculations. And so if you're eligible, then there's a cost to that person regardless of if there are assets in the account. But for us, just because you're eligible does not mean that there's a cost for that account.
That was
Okay.
important to us when we were looking for a partner. We did not want to have people billed for participants who aren't, or for eligibles who aren't participating.
Okay, I think we've answered all the questions I have in the chat box. I do have one that was in here that's what's the advantage of doing the 401k with the ISSA plan as opposed to another vendor? I think you've answered that a couple of times, and many times over, in fact, but I will give each of you, if you want to answer that real quick before we end.
Sure. Well, I'll jump in there first if that's okay, Christian.
Please.
Using another vendor is fine. I mean, there's many vendors out there that provide 401k plans. And when we went out into the marketplace, though, we said, okay, we are not coming as ABC company or XYZ company. We're coming as ISSA, the organization with all the power of the membership base. And when we went out there to look at the different pricing and to see what's available and what companies would work with us and hit all these bullet points that we wanted to have checked off for the membership, there was a couple floated to the top. And as we interviewed them, Vestwell really were the most aggressive with their pricing, have the best platform out there, we felt, and the most ability for us to design things for the membership that it would make sense. So I could tell you all about different vendors because we've talked to a ton of them. But what we're getting here, this type of pricing, this type of participation from Vestwell to help us get this set up for the ISSA membership. Look, you are part of this association so that you can get access to things that people can't get off the street. This is one of those benefits. This partnership is exclusive to ISSA. You have to be a member in order to get this pricing. If you called Vestwell direct, you would not get this pricing. You'd be charged a setup fee. It starts at minimum $500. That's been waived. There's a lot of different things that have been waived over here that is available to our membership, and that is what we have put together. So to me, and as we've been researching this and designing this, the benefits that are offered on this platform, to me, I haven't seen it like this in Fortune 500 companies, and you have it available to you. And that's the beauty of being part of this association, is that these financial benefits that are available are just really top tier, second to none, in my opinion. And I think people would be very, very happy with it if they looked into it. I don't know if you have something to add to that, Christian.
No, I think those are all great points. It's taking, the advantages that you may find at very large corporations and applying them to smaller businesses. And I think, the combined offering of making it easy to use, making it really competitively priced. To Mark's point, there are discounts here that the ISSA can get that you wouldn't get elsewhere. And then also just also identifying ways to reduce the liability section of the offering as well for sponsors. So it's a combination of different factors that make us different and better. But ultimately, again, this is catered to and tailored to the specifics of the ISSA member base.
Yeah, and if I could just add one more thing, just very quickly, our goal as the benefits team, you heard from TJ, many of you have talked to Jonathan and Lisette and other people on the team, that we're dedicated to finding the best solutions for the membership. And our job is to make you heroes to your employees, to the people that you work with every day. They may not even know this is an ISSA thing, but you do. And so if we can provide a solution for you that can help you focus your efforts on the other parts of your business that you have to deal with day to day, then we've succeeded in that. And it means that your membership with ARCSI and ISSA is that much more valuable to you. You're taking advantage of it, you're leveraging it, and we're helping you bring something to the people that help build your business that maybe you couldn't get off the street on your own. And if we're able to do that, then it's a success. And we look forward to chatting with everybody about how to get these things implemented as soon as they click these links and or call the number. We're ready for you. Good
deal. All right. Thank you so much, Mark and Christian. Another great program. So happy that we can bring this employee benefits program to you. As I said last week, we really think this could be a game changer for your business. So please take advantage of the new program and get in contact with our employee benefits team, and they can answer any questions you have. Again, the employee benefits hotline is 847-982-3455. Again, that's 847-982-3455. All the information to get in contact with Mark or Christian or TJ or anybody else on the team is available on the ARCSI website and the ISSA website. I do want to make sure that everybody listening is aware that the early bird registration has opened for the ISSA show in Chicago. We are moving forward with the show, and we are working with the city of Chicago to ensure that we provide a safe atmosphere as we plan a special business-to-business event. The early bird registration is $180. That's a $200 savings on the full registration rate. You can go to issa.com/show for more information. I do want to let you know that on June 22nd is our next webinar, and we will be featuring Kedma O. She's going to be one of our speakers at the show. She's going to be talking at the show about how to use innovation to become cash rich. But on June 22nd, she's going to be talking about how you can find alternative funding for your cleaning business. So I really encourage you to sign in and hear from Kedma O. And again, she'll be speaking at the show. So I encourage you to register for that. Again, thank you, Mark and TJ, or thank you, Mark and Christian. Thank you, TJ, too, because, he's always around. But that wraps up our program for today.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for having us. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.